Hi, my name is Elena LeVictor, and I blog at mydomesticchurch.com. And I'd like to thank Heather Bowen for giving me a chance to participate in this online conference. I hope it blesses you. I'm sure it'll bless me when I see some of the other presentations today. So thank you for stopping by to my presentation. I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I've been blogging for over 15 years. I have 6 children, ages 28 to 12. My 12-year-old daughter is actually helping direct this video today. She did all of the background stuff for me. Anyway, all of my children were athletic. We got them into swimming when they were very little, and then they all played soccer. And then once, I had about 4 kids and the swimming got kind of expensive for us, we moved into cross country and running. And my last 4 children did very well with the running. But when my 4th son, he's 20 years old now, when he was in high school, he started doing very well. And by his junior year, he was running on the varsity level. And then that's when I thought, gosh, it's a shame that this is going to end for him. I wonder if he could run in college. And, I just thought, well, of course, if you go to the school, you should be able to run for your school. It shouldn't be a problem. And I didn't really think about the NCAA that much. I was very naive about it. I thought that was more for kids who are running the marquee sports of football, basketball, baseball. I didn't think, somebody would, need to be eligible to run track or, or cross country or something like that. So when he got approved at college, we picked the college. He was accepted. We went to go meet the coach. He said, well, you got to get him signed up for the NCAA website. You need to make him eligible. And I thought, oh, yeah, I'll do that, May came of his senior year, and I just happened to be on Facebook, and I read one of my friends was all in a tizzy because she had waited till the last minute to try to get her son NCAA eligible. And he was just playing, he was going to play boys volleyball. I thought, wow, how is that possible that, they would make such a big deal about that? And then I started looking at my emails that I'd been neglecting, and sure enough, I was going to have to do the same thing my friend was doing to get my son eligible to run that fall. But I did it. I spent that whole month of May working on it every night, and we'll talk about why that is such a lengthy process. But I got it all done. I got it turned in, and the fall of his freshman year, he was able to run with his NCAA Division II cross country team. He's just finished his 2nd year, and he's got 2 more years. So it's been a real blessing for him. I think it's been good for him, mainly because it's such a change from the academics that he's doing every day. So let's talk about what you need to do to become NCAA eligible. Now, I mentioned that I didn't even think about him doing this on the college level till he made it into the varsity level. And that's something you might want to think about. There's 7 men on a cross-country team who score points for the school. Of the kids that were on his team, only 3 went on to run on the college level. One of them's in a Division III school. And then Noah and his friend are running, I think, D2. Both of them are running D2. So, if your child is enjoying a sport, but not really one of the best, one of the best on his team, you might think, you might want to consider whether you want to go through all of this if they're not going to participate in college, or if they're not going to be good enough to compete on the college level. Also, only 2% of high school athletes go on to participate in Division I schools. So, let's say your child is, does well, but is on the JV team for baseball or whatever, and, they want to go to, I don't know, Ohio State or something like that, a Division I school. You might want to, your chances of getting there are kind of slim. So, these are the kinds of things mom has to consider before you go, because it's going to be you, mom, that does all of this work mainly. So, these are just things to consider. But if your child is good enough and they want to go participate at the college level, you need to think about this. Who has to be eligible? And basically anybody who plays any kind of sport on Division I or II has to be eligible. If your child decides to go Division III, give them a big hug, because you don't have to be eligible for that. And that's going to save you as a mom a lot of extra work. Division One, as I mentioned, includes 347 schools. They offer 14 different sports for men and women. This is the highest level of collegiate athletics. These are the schools that have the real big budgets and the most modern facilities. They offer scholarships. You have to have your, okay, now here's the other thing. Besides your athlete being good enough to participate, they also have to have at least a 2.3 grade point average. They also have to do well on the ACTs and the SATs, and that has to match your score. If you have a low GPA, they might want to have the higher test score to kind of balance that out, because then they do some kind of algorithm to figure that out, whether they qualify. We can talk about that a little bit. Well, let's go on to what Division II is. Division II includes 305 schools, and they cover at least 10 sports. There are fewer scholarship opportunities. Now, I couldn't believe my son goes to a Division II school. I couldn't believe the different world that college sports is compared to high school, even for the runners. Because whereas I had to make sure he got to the school to get on the little school bus, little yellow school bus to be driven to his meets and things, they have a wonderful travel bus to travel on, and he gets a shoe allowance. Okay, he's not one of the most elite runners on the team, and he still gets all these wonderful perks. So it's a different world for Division II. I imagine Division I's even more wonderful. You have to have a 2.2 grade point average and the corresponding test scores also, as well as the 16 core courses that we're going to cover. And Division III consists of 442 schools. They offer at least 5 sports. They do not offer athletic scholarships, but 75% of their students get some kind of merit or need-based financial aid. And like I mentioned, the Division III athletes do not have to register with the NCAA. Okay, so what are the steps to being NCAA eligible? First, you have to register your child with the NCAA. Now, you should have got I included a PDF that you should have gotten with this. The front page will look something like this, okay? And up at the top, I've got the website. So you don't have to remember all of this. You can go to this website and register Division I or II. If you're going to run if you're going to play Division III, or if you just want to create a profile page, you can do that now too, but you don't have to pay the registration fee. In getting ready for this talk, I have a 12-year-old daughter. She is a very good runner. She is always in the top 50% of all the races that she runs. If she's running, for her school, we run CYO, if she's running for that. She's usually in the top 10, or definitely in the, if she's running the championship, in the top 50. So I think she's got a lot of promise for high school and beyond. So I created a page for her. It's absolutely free. If she manages to get through high school and still doing as well as she's doing and wanting to get into college, then I can just upgrade. And that just means they'll just transfer her free profile into the Division I, Division II, and I'll have to pay the fee. The next thing you'll want to do is download the toolkit. That's also, I've included that also on your handout so you can see that. And just make sure you read it. It's got everything, all the information. A lot of the information I'm giving you now, it came out of that toolkit. So you'll want to refer to that. You'll need to pay a fee. It's currently $80 to register for Division I or Division II. When I did it a few years ago for my son, it was $75. So who knows what it'll be in 5 years when my daughter's ready. But like I said, the Division III or just to do a profile, that's absolutely free. Next, you need to submit the ACT or the SAT scores, and you have to submit those from the tester. When I talk about my experience, of course, we didn't do that. If you decide to do that, you use the code 9999 as the code, and after your child takes the test, it'll be sent directly to the schools that your child wants the test to go to, as well as the NCAA. Now here's the deal. But before your kid takes the test, you don't know how they're going to do. You might have an idea of how it's going to do. So you may decide, well, no, I don't want to send it to the NCAA. We didn't right away. And then when I needed to send it on to the NCAA, I had to go back to the college board for the ACT, and I had to pay a little fee for them to send that on to the NCAA. So, you know, it might be, you might think, yeah, maybe that's what I want to do because I don't know how they're going to do. You might want to see your test scores first before you send them off. So that's up to you. They do have to kind of match up with your transcript. Now, here's my transcript for my child, and you can look on there. I put a sample in your PDF, but he was an all A student. Oh, isn't that nice? Mommy gave her son all A's, her mommy grades, okay? But he did well on the ACT, and that backed up my grades. So if you give your child all A's, but then he gets like a 12 or a 14 on the ACT, that's not backing up what you're telling them, okay? His grades were able to back that up, and with the test score. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Be real with yourself and with your student when you make your transcript, okay? And it doesn't hurt to take a couple practice ACTs before you go in there for the big one to see how that's going to work out. I can also tell you that my son took the test 3 times. It didn't really change his composite score, but you know, I was pretty confident when we sent the final one in that this was the best he could do. Okay, submit your transcript. Now, we were just talking about that transcript. They want to see on here, and this is a little bit different than what you're sending to the college, but they want to see in here the month, day, and year that you started 9th grade. So I have that on here. They also want to see his graduation date. Also month, date, year, I've got that on here too. And they want to have a place for you to sign it. They have a lot of things in the NCAA that they want signatures for, and this is one of them. I do not have a scanner. I didn't want to go out and buy a scanner. So I took pictures of everything, and then online I found a program to take photos and turn them into PDFs. So anything that I had to sign, like the signature page on all for those, all of those 16 core courses, those were all signed, and then I took pictures of them and turned them into PDFs online. And you can Google that and find it. Let's see. They also want proof of graduation. They want the month, the date, and the year. And that has to be on the transcript as well. I was surprised that they will also take a picture of the diploma. One of my greatest joys is to order a beautiful diploma for my students, and you could just take a picture of that and send it in. That doesn't get you off the hook though for putting a graduation date on the transcript, but that's what they consider a proof of graduation. You also have to prove that you were homeschooling within the parameters of your state. Now, in the state of Ohio, what they determined is that your child has to get approval by the superintendent. So I took a picture of his last letter signed by the superintendent for his senior year, and also the assessment that we sent in that year. I didn't have any problems. That's what they accepted. Those are in your handout also. But whatever you need to do, you know, for your state, go ahead and send that in. Let's see. You have to sign in a signed statement that says that you were the administrator of the school. Again, this comes in from the NCAA. I downloaded it as a PDF. I changed it to a Word document. There's free programs online to do that. And then I went ahead and filled it out and sent it back in. Okay, so they want that too. And then you have to do the 16 core worksheets, one for every core course. I have a sample of that in your handout, and we're going to go over that a little bit. Okay, once you get all that stuff together, what I would do is I would take like his English, like 9th grade English. I would fill out the whole form. I would turn it back into a PDF from a Word document. I would match the signature sheet with it, and then I would put it into a completed file. I did that for all his Englishes, and then I went through and did that for all the maths, and I did it for all the sciences. Okay, so I could see what I was getting done, and in my mind I knew what I was getting done, and then I could see it on my computer. When I had that all done, I combined it, you know, into one folder, and then I sent it to the NCAA. Now you can do it snail mail. The address is in your handout. It's also on their website. There's a place for you to upload files. You could upload them if you wanted to, or you can email them. And I opted to email because then because I have a Gmail account, I could go back and I could look at that email. I had proof that I sent it. I knew exactly what I sent. And then in the future, if I want to look at what I did for my daughter, I'll be able to pull that up and see, oh yeah, this is what I did for her. I've also been able to use that to help my friends who, wanted some information or they wanted an example as they were filling out theirs. I didn't have an example as I was filling out mine. I was so naive. I just did it. What kind of questions will they ask you while you're doing the registration? Well, they ask the normal questions. They ask your name, address, date of birth, etc. They're also very interested, like I say, in that date of graduation, month, day, year. So make sure you have that. Because we homeschooled and there was nobody really graduating my son's year in our area, we had a little graduation party for him, and I gave him his diploma there. That's the date that I put on his diploma. That's the date that I put on his transcript. So, don't worry about whether it was a fancy graduation ceremony or something. It doesn't have to be. Okay, I was also kind of surprised that they asked a lot of questions about my education and my husband's. So don't be surprised when they ask that. They want to know the highest level of education you've obtained also. Now, like I said, I got a late start. I got started in May of that year, and when I started learning about core courses, I thought, oh, what if I didn't give him the right courses? What if we don't have what he needs to participate and to get NCAA eligible? Well, luckily he did have everything because I had followed a college prep course of study for him. I got that from the State of Ohio website, and I also, when I was preparing to start homeschooling high school, I had some reference books that gave suggestions of what you should have for college. So he was fine. I had everything that he needed. If you're going to go Division I, if you're going to apply for Division I eligibility, you have to have 4 years of English. You have to have 3 years of math or higher. So that means Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry, and then whatever you want, after that. But you only need the 3 years, so that would be it. 2 years of natural or physical science, including 1 year of lab science. In our home, we did biology and we did chemistry. And we did that at a homeschool co-op. And I'm so grateful that the co-op teacher required that they keep a lab book. So I had proof that my son had done a chemistry lab. I wasn't asked for it, but I had proof of it if I needed it. In addition to that English, math, and science, they also require 1 extra year of math, English, or science. So let's say your son or daughter took the Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry. If they went on and took pre-calc, calc, trigonometry, there you go. That's your 1 extra year, okay? Or in science, let's say they, beside biology and chemistry, let's say they wanted to do anatomy and physiology, or physics, or astronomy. As long as it was 1 credit class, that would count. Or English, you have the 4 Englishes, but let's say your child also wanted to do advanced composition, or British literature in depth, or whatever it was, you could count that. In addition to those, you need to have 2 years of social science. That includes history. Luckily, my son is somewhat of a history buff, so I had more than enough history to meet the core requirements for social studies. And in addition, you have to have 4 additional years of any subject, including foreign language, philosophy, or non-doctrinal religion. My son took 2 years of Latin, so that helped with that. Religion, I know a lot of Catholic homeschool moms, they teach religion all 4 years of high school, but that would not count towards the NCAA. It would have to be some non-doctrinal religion. Let's see if they were comparing Christianity to the Eastern religions, any comparative course like that, that would count. Philosophy, logic class, anything like that, that would count towards that. I'm trying to think what else we did for that. Let's see if I can let you know. But anyway, those are the types of things that they went for Division 1. Division 2 is the same but less. They went 3 years of English, 2 years of math, Algebra 1 or higher, 2 years of natural or physical science, so that would be the same as Division 1. Plus you need to have 3 years of English, math, or science, so the same thing would apply. 2 years of social studies, and 3 additional years of any of the subjects above, including foreign language and or philosophy or the non-doctrinal religion. Just trying to see what we did here that was a little bit, hang with me for just a second. NCAA core subjects. Hang on. Okay, so for my son, we did AP World History, that would be social science, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, American History, and we did American History 1 and 2 because it took us so long to get through American History because we went into such depth that we did from the beginning of the country, you know, the discovery to the Civil War, and then after that, the next year we did from the Civil War to modern times, and I called that contemporary history. We did American literature, biology, British history, British literature, chemistry, geometry, Latin 1 and Latin 2, what I called 9th grade language arts, physical science, pre-calculus, and world literature. And those were our 16. That's actually 17 courses, so that's what we included. Okay, when I was filling out the form for my daughter this year, or this week as I was getting ready for this class, I noticed that they asked what homeschool program are you using? And then there was a drop-down form, and it included Abeka, Alpha Omega, Apologia, Bob Jones, Life Pack, and Switched On Schoolhouse. So they are very familiar with those. I happen to know that they also will approve Math UC, Easy Grammar, teaching textbooks, Seton, classical conversations. We used Elite Tutors Online for Latin. Brave Writer, For Such a Time as These, that was Dr. Stobaugh, and Saxon. I also happen to know that they will not accept Saxon, Algebra 2 and Geometry. Those have to be divided, so that you need one full thing of geometry. You can't just smash it in right there with Algebra 2. Okay. So how do I fill out the core worksheets? There's a couple in your packet. You're going to want to put your student's name and ID number. You will end up memorizing that ID number as you put it in here all the times. You're going to have to give your course a name and the grade level. And then which one of these, English, math, social studies, science, foreign language, or comparative religion philosophy, did this fall under? So you're going to have to choose that. Put your name and the name of any other teachers. Now I mentioned that for biology, I hired a teacher to help with biology. She was part of the homeschool co-op that we went to, so I put her name down too. Were there any prerequisites? No. What about the textbook? I put the name of the textbook. I also put the ISBN number. It wasn't required, but it used to be required, so I thought better safe than sorry to put that in there. I also put the name of the publisher. They asked you the publisher and the course designer. I put that in. If you've given your book away, you can't find it, and we had a couple books that I no longer had. I looked them all up on Amazon. Luckily, I did have a book list for each year, so I knew what books we used. But I could look up in Amazon and get the ISBN number and a description from it. Put the course description from the book, the goals, and the type of assessments used. Now, I wrote daily work including end of lesson questions, end of chapter study questions, end of unit tests, as well as participating in weekly labs. And then I also required him to pass the CLEP test. You cannot put on your transcript that your child CLEP'd out of a class, but you can say that you use CLEP as an indicator of how they did in the class. So I put that here, and then I gave him one credit. I believe I called this honors, I called this honors biology, and that's because he did take the CLEP and pass it at the end. And then again, you have to sign everything here. So that's what I did for the biology class. I also have a sample in your packet of British literature and what we used. He also took Brave Writer, so I included the Brave Writer courses he took. He took 2 Brave Writer courses in the 11th grade. And then I put the description of the other things that he did for British literature, the things that he read. And one of the Brave Writer courses he took was Twelfth Night. So I included all of that on here, and there's a sample in your packet. And again, completing daily study questions, 60%, discussion, 20%. I put discussion on a lot of my things because for me, if my student can talk to me about what he's reading and explain it to me, then I know he understands something. They did not question that at all. They understood that. They would understand it if you were participating in class, if you were going to public school. So that's how they understood it for this too. And that worked really well for me. After you have all of that done, and you have everything turned into a PDF file and you upload it, or you take copies of it and send it in, or you email it, whatever you do, then you have to wait a little bit. Keep checking back to the Eligibility Center, and they'll tell you if you're missing anything. They'll give you a checklist and show you exactly what's missing or what they need or for further information. And then eventually one day you'll check in there and it'll say that it's waived and they're good to go. If it doesn't work out for your child though, if for some reason you didn't take enough courses or they're not going to accept it or whatever, this just affects their first year. If they do good grades in college, then they can go on and participate the second year if they want to. Sometimes they'll go ahead and redshirt them. That means they can practice with the team, and that can be invaluable too. They can practice but not compete. So, like I said, don't worry. I did manage to get all of this done in late May of my son's senior year. I worked on it every night, and I was very naive about it. I was very honest. I had no idea what was at stake if I messed this up. I really didn't think about that. To tell you the truth, I was a little resentful that I had to do it at all. But, if I can do it and send this all in with my lack of knowledge at the time, you're going to be more than prepared to turn this in, and you'll do well. And I just pray about it. And if it isn't meant to be, if your child does end up not playing his freshman year, maybe that's a good thing the first year so he can get adjusted to academics, because it is a big switch, especially from homeschool to the college level. It's a big switch. All right, well, thank you for coming by. Again, my name is Elena LeVictor, and I blog at mydomesticchurch.com, and I'd love to have you come by and visit me, and so that we can stay in touch. Make sure you visit some of the other wonderful programs that are going on during this online convention, and God bless. Thank you.